Alright folks, here we are at Bob's Barn Workshop. I am at the lake. You know, a couple of years ago I did a video showing this outboard motor getting a retrofit of electric start, and I added the starter motor and the power leads now to a remote. Well, I need something to charge the battery, so I didn't show this, but I used a kit that I bought just up the road here, a bearing puller. You know the drill. Took the 18mm nut out of the top. I had to pull the hand crank off. That was on with some number 10 bolts. Easy peasy. This is a 1988 20 horsepower Mercury. Got the flywheel off. That was the struggle. Okay, so the flywheel is now off. And I bought the coils on a whim online thinking they would fit. Well, there's the screw holes. They line right up. There were two little bolts in here that just held down this plate. So I'm going to go up and get a Phillips screwdriver and some Loctite, and we'll continue. Well, I had to open up the case here. I found the two mounting bolts down here, and I couldn't find exactly the right screws, but the screws that I took out of that bracket in the front were the right diameter, and I ran them into the aluminum and it self-tapped perfectly. So I've got two screws in there now, and I just need to tighten them up. I had to go find my 1/4" ratchet. Now I'm just going to ease those in. I put blue Loctite on them because I don't want to strip out that aluminum, you know. These are fine threads, and that's more than solid enough. Now those are 8mm, yes. So our wires want to go on just like this. I don't know if those star washers are supposed to go on top or not, but they're kind of stuck down in the epoxy. And look at that, they fit right on this. This is a retro, or a Mercury outboard regulator that I bought online. Said it would fit, and obviously there's spaces for it to fit. So now I'll be able to run around and my battery will charge. I'll be able to run my navigation lights going back and forth to the duck hunting spots when it's dark, before and after sunset, sunrise, be legal, all that. Okay, so I've got my two AC. See, the coil with the battery produces an AC signal, and you need what's called a rectifier. That is basically just a diode that lets current pass one direction. And because there's two outputs from this coil, it will be like a sine wave. And they will go through this diode bridge, which will turn those alternating pulses into positive pulses in one direction, and it won't discharge the battery. So that's what your regulator does. You gotta have one. No way of getting around it. So everything there is tight. I need to put my fuse on here, and I think I'm going to put the fuse terminal. I'm thinking this needs to go in the battery box. So for right now, I'm just going to put a terminal on the end of my, I've got a 16 gauge wire, which is good for 15 amps, 12.5 amps actually. It'll be fine. And there's the size terminal I need. Yep, perfect. So I'll strip the end of this. I brought my strippers. I'm going to zoom back out here. Show you what I'm doing over here by the toolbox. I don't have the proper crimper with me, but I'm just going to do a Good old American know-how. And crush these down with a pair of needle nose, right in the joint part of it. Flatten the connector. Oh well, it's come right off. Great. It's not going to contact anything anyway. We'll go back over here to the terminals on the motor, on the charging circuit. Now I just want this to come out with my charger leads. Right. What you doing here, Spunky? You get the planing nose. I think it's supposed to go under the star washer. There we go. I'm excited. I've never done anything like this, but as I told you in the past, my dad never taught me to do everything, but my dad taught me I could do anything. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks, Dad. He's always told me if any other fool can do it, I can do it. So, just, now I got a big wrench on this, so I'm just tightening them gently. Just gently. Alright, now I need to put the top back on the motor here. And I need to put the case back together. So let's swing this guy back around. I didn't show you this disassembly. I was in a hurry. I was excited. I thought it was going to rain, but this little bracket just goes around like so, and clips in the back with a screw, clips in the front with the bracket for the hook, the latch. So this latch hook has to go down between these two ears to hold the two bottom halves together, and goes in with two screws, number 8s again. They're always a bummer to get started, especially when you got a piece. Okay, so I just got that cowling put back together. It has a couple of little sheet metal screws that have to go back here in the back. Sorry I missed that. Before you got here I would have just shut down and done this, but there's just a little metal plate that goes in there that makes that grip the cowling onto the base of the motor here, and it has a rubber gasket to keep down the vibration, but it gives it some flexibility. Alright, so the alternator coil is installed. 3 M5s, a little over an inch long, blue Loctite. Cable runs down, bridge rectifier to make DC, wire to come out to the battery to charge it. That's all there is to it. Now, on goes the flywheel again. And there's powerful magnets in the flywheel that will fly by those coils, inducing a pulse that goes high-low. And what the bridge does is changes it to a high-high. Sounds like somebody saying hello, doesn't it? Now, the center bolt, I am not going to Loctite this because this has no torsional force on it. And that's an 18 millimeter because I had it apart. 18 millimeter nut. Excuse me. Come on. I've dented it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brace this against and that's as much as I need to tighten that, I believe. Again, I'm sure there's a torque spec. I'm up at the lake, I don't have a torque spec. So now the pull starter goes back on very simply. Oh man, good thing that came out. I made note that the long one goes in the back. And there's three 10 millimeters that go on this. And on this side, for some reason, there's a little dash pot, which is just a little air spring damper kind of thing. That's supposed to keep your throttle from bouncing around too much or something. So that goes under up on the flywheel where the teeth of the pull starter engage it. And then we'll start these other three. There was a longer one in the back. I don't know metric real well, but that's a longer metric bolt. M6, I'm guessing, because it's very close to an American number. Quarter inch. Now let's see what we got here. I'm not sure. That was a 10 millimeter, wasn't it? Is that it? Yes. We're just going to bring them down until they almost touch before we go around them a little bit. I bought this motor from way over in Vermont years ago, and it's so weird that my brother-in-law was going to Burlington to a doctor's appointment, and where the guy worked that had the motor worked in Burlington, and I looked at Google Earth, and the two buildings were side by side where the doctor's office was and where the guy worked with the motor. So my brother-in-law just backed up with his pickup truck and they loaded it on, and they were planning on visiting us in New York State in the next couple of weeks, so he just brought it over to me. So that was a real score. I paid pretty good money for this motor, but it runs really great now. This John boat goes down the lake like a racing boat. So I'm just gonna elbow torque these. That is aluminum, remember, so be gentle. Alright, so now we're down to wiring the battery box. I probably should have a fuse at each end, but I want to put a fuse on the wire right as it comes off the battery, because the battery is what produces power all the time. And if this wire was to short out up here into the motor, it could burn right up a whole bunch of stuff if the fuse was here, right? So that's why I've thought about doing it that way. So I'm just going to go up and get some electrical tape, tape this to there. I'm going to leave some slack in it when I get in the middle, because I'm going to bring back the battery box, because we'll be testing this real soon. So now I'm working on, I've left enough slack in this wire from the rectifier. I've taped it to the battery terminals, or the cables. I've measured it along the interconnecting cables, so I'm going to put my fuse holder on this end, and I'm going to grip them the same way. Be very careful with your stripper that you don't cut any of the other leads. And I think if we twist these a little bit, okay, I see the wires all the way through the end. So I am connecting up the positive lead to the battery. Now notice that the fuse is right here. That's a 7/16 nut. I'm just going to give it a quick twist. Be careful because your line is hot. Alright, now that should reach everything in from the motor. It needs to be attached. Let's sorry guys. Comes into here. I'm going to put some right there with it. Looks like it's going to rub on the edge of the cowling here, just to make sure it doesn't abrade my insulation. You know, these outboards vibrate a lot. especially this old dog. Don't bash your knuckles. Okay, now I'm just going to temporarily connect this together so I can put these leads on here. I'm going to leave a little slack here because in the future I'm going to cut this wire and put a connector here so that I can... Okay, I left a lot of slack in there, but that's fine. I'll just tuck that out of the way. I didn't want it to be too short and yank on the wire when I turn the motor or something stupid like that. Now here's where the cover of the box comes over. So that's why this is bent like that. And that's the output for my sump pump, my bilge pump. So I just have this wired together here. Twist it up a little bit. Alright, yeah, we can just put that wire down inside here and we'll be all hunky-dory. Now I got LED lights on this boat. I've got bilge pump, electric bilge pump. They want it to work. Very handy when the bilge pump works, isn't it? Especially if you hit a big wave and it comes over the side or over the bow or over the stern. I've got an LED stern light, which is in the way right now, which I haven't tested. So that guy goes on that away. Strap wants to fall off the back because it's lopsided because the battery's near the one side, of course. I don't have a tie down for it in the boat, but it sits in this back corner of the hull just fine. Okay. Connect up our light connectors here. I guess I showed you these at other times, but I'll show you again in case you're new to this. These are called Sure Seal connectors. They use them on a lot of military vehicles and stuff. They're one piece, but when you shove the connectors in lubricated with a special tool, they'll be totally waterproof. There's ridges around the inside so that when you plug them together, they're waterproof. Okay, so that's for my my lighting. Bilge pump just plugs in with another 2 connector plug here. This one isn't waterproof at this time, but she runs. And now we'll come around here. Of course, before we go for a ride, I got to put all my tools away, but I'll cut you out of that one. So that hook we took the cowling apart with is where the hood hooks on. So you hook that behind that. The back one snaps, and she's ready to go. Okay, I'm going to clean up all the tools, and we're going to do a demo. Alright, so now we're back in the boat. I got it in the water, of course. Got the motor down. I had a hard time getting it started for the first time, but as we're reading the battery voltage right now, it says it's just about 13 volts. Okay, I'm going to hit the starter. And I'm watching that voltage. And even at idle, it's creeping up slowly. Yep. Oh yeah, look at that. It's up to 14 volts. And it drops back when I let it slow down. I'll press the needle go up just a little bit. Going up. Yep, it's going up. I don't know exactly how much current this charging system is supposed to create. But y'all want to go for a ride? I think we all should go for a ride. Alright, I'll come back. Alright, I'm sorry if you didn't see me doing that. We're out in the boat, we got her started. Flat bottom. This is basically my duck hunting boat. A lot of islands on Black Lake. Gulls. Fishermen. It's a little rainy today. A little chilly today too. Well, fans, my hair's a mess. This is Bob's Barn Workshop from the middle of Black Lake, and it's another episode adding a charging coil to the motor. I don't know if my camera was on. I thought it was when I tested the voltage, and we could see the voltage creeping up when it was running, so the charging system is working. And I don't think I got 50 bucks into it. I bought the coils on eBay, I think cheap, used, and I had to buy the bridge rectifier. I know that was like $15. So you got to have the rectifier, you got to have the pickup coil and a couple of screws to hold it down, and that's pretty much it. So if you want to retrofit an old Mercury motor, you can find the coils on eBay. Okay guys, stay safe, God bless, enjoy life, it's short. We'll see you next time from Bob's Barn Workshop.